Hello everyone, Sandra Sherman here from the beautiful city of Vienna, Austria. Today we'll look into major chord embellishments, some Hendrix style and rhythm and blues playing going on. Are you tired of playing your chords like this? And would rather play like this? I'm going to teach you how. I'm going to explain everything slowly and in detail. I've made 5 examples for you, one for each chord shape. And of course, I'm also providing you with free tabs to download from our website. The link is down below in the description. All right, let's get started. The chords I use for embellishments are derived from the cage system. I have a separate video out on the cage system, so if you're not familiar with it, please check it out. I'm gonna explain to you the cage system really quickly right now so you can see where those chords come from. Okay, cage stands for C, A, G, E, and D open chords. So we're using a C chord, an A open chord, a G, E, and D chord. I hope you know these chords. And now we bar them. We make bar chords out of them so they're movable. And we can move them to any key we want. So first I take the C chord. If I want to move it, I need to bar it. Okay, so I take my index finger, bar it over the fretboard just up till the A string because the E string is not played. And then I play a C chord with the rest of my fingers. Now I can move it, let's say to an F. The root is the pinky, so I have an F here, and so this would be an F chord. So just the index as a bar, and the rest shapes a C chord. Okay. Next would be the A chord, and again I'm using my index finger, and the other finger is to shape the shape of an A, and now I can move it. Usually I don't play this chord like that. Instead of using 3 fingers here, I just bar with my ring finger over those 3. But please be aware that you are not allowed to play the high E string now, because that would be a 6 chord, C6 in this case. So just up until the B string. And of course don't play the E string. Mute it please with your index finger, because this is an A-shaped chord. K, J, so J is the next one, G. This is hard to fret, and we are not going to do that. Oops. Because this would look like this. I'm using the inner 4 strings only, the center 4 strings. So I'm using this one and the bar on this, but I'm not using the middle finger, but rather the ring finger. I use the ring finger, it's more comfortable. So, the key of C I would be 7A, 5, 5, 5, okay? So this comes from the G chord. Then K, G, E, here is E. I think everyone is familiar with this one, okay? If you want to move this, bar it, and play your E chord with the rest, with your other fingers, and just move it. The root is on the E string. Then we have the D chords, D chord. Okay, here's the D chord. My root is on the D string, and this is how I move it, okay? This is a little hard to fret too. I can split this chord into just the power chord on the bottom strings, or the upper chord, which is a plain D chord. Okay, D shape, sorry. Depending on where we are, here we are on G, so it's a G chord now. Power chord only, upper chord only. That's like a U2 style, the edge. Okay, or all together. All right, so this is where the chords are derived from, and those are the chords we're gonna work with. Let's start with the A shape. You are seeing an insert right now, and it's showing you the chord tones and tensions. So we use the chord tones plus the tensions. The tensions will be our embellishments. The chord tones are black, and there's also one or two black dots with a red circle around. This is the root. You can always rest on the chord tones, so always rest on the black dots. Then I think I made green and yellow dots, and those are the embellishment tones. So we use these notes, these tones for embellishing our chord. In my first example, I'm having the A shape, so I play the C here. Comes from the A, move it to C, here is the root. So I can rest on these chord tones. And I'm using, I think, these embellishments here. The D, it should be a yellow tone, if I remember correctly. And I also use this D here, okay? So let's hear the first example. This is how I play it. I start with the C chord, derived from the A chord. We are on the 3rd fret of the A string, and I bar over the 5th of the D, G, and B string. I mute the high E string, so just don't press as hard, and it will be muted automatically. I also mute the low E string with my index finger by just touching it a bit. I start with the lower notes, which are the A and the D string. It's not that exact, okay? Just hit the lower strings. And then I go to the upper strings. Hit it real hard, okay? And then you stop it. 1, 2, okay? 1, 2. Then I sometimes I don't play 2 scratch notes, which are, I can do that by just releasing the pressure here in the left hand. Okay? I play down and up. Down, 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 up. And now is the fill. I bar the E and B strings on the 3rd fret and hammer over to the 5th fret of the B string. So I hammer only one note, but I play 2 strings. So I play the B and E string on the 3rd, and I hammer over to the 5th of the B. I call this the Hendrix whoop because it sounds like a whoop. It's only one quick note. It's not 1, 2. It's 1, 1. Okay? And then I stop it and I go back. Don't pull it. Now I add my ring finger to the ringing tones. I add it on the, I put it on the 5th of the G string. Everything keeps on ringing. And now I add my pinky on the 5th of the B string because there is still an embellishment tone in here. That's the D. I don't want to have it ring that long, so I place a chord tone. Because I said we are not supposed to rest on embellishments, we are supposed to rest on chord tones. So I put it on a 5th of the B string, and I play the upper two strings. Okay? Only one string here and the upper 2 here. Then I hit it real hard. Sometimes it's just a mute, sometimes it's a real thing, and I mute it afterwards. You know, it varies. Then I might have 2 scratches again or not. Then I go down to a part of the C chord. That's actually from the C shape, taken from the C shape. This is the 3rd of the A string and the 2nd of the D string. And then I go over to the 5th of the A and 5th of the D string. This is an embellishment, so I need to resolve it to a black dot. I just take the low strings of the regular C chord in the A shape, 3, 5, 5. Okay? Stop it, and here you go. Okay, the whole thing slowly. 3, 4. The G chord looks a little awkward at first, so when I move the open G to, let's say, C on the 8th fret, I would get this. But we can make it a lot easier if we omit the high strings and sometimes even the low string. So all we have is the inner 4 strings, and that's a chord Jimi Hendrix himself played a lot of times. So in the key of C, we have the 7 of A, the 5, 5, 5 as a bar on the D, G, and B strings. Okay? In my example, I'm going to use the bass as a root note as well. But usually it's just the inner 4 strings. And we have our embellishments within excellent reach. As you can see in the graphics above, we have the 7th frets here on the D and G string. Those are great to reach. Okay, let's go over to the first, to the example in G. Remember, you can play any chord preceding the fill. So you could play the shape of A in the key of C, which would be on the 3rd fret, and then head over to your G shape for the fill. Or you play your C in the E shape, and then go back to your G shape fill. So it doesn't have to be this shape for the chord. The chord and the fill can be mixed as you like it. Okay, this is how I played it. Key of C, we're on the 8th fret of E and 7th fret of A. I hit those notes. And then I play the higher notes, the 5th bar chord over D, G, and B. I do not even play with my right hand the high E string because I can't mute it now because it's a full bar chord. So don't hit the E string. The highest tone now should be the B string. Then I'll lift my fingers off, put them back on the 5th fret of G and B, those 2 strings, G and B. And I hammer on the 7th fret of G only, but I play both strings, okay? But I just hammer on the G string. And then I pull it off again in a real quick fashion. And then I go on the 7th of the D string alone while everything is still ringing. I let it ring and one another. Then I do the same thing on the middle 2 strings. I play the 5th and 5th of D and G, I bar it, and I hammer the 7th of the D string only with my ring finger, but I play those 2 strings, but I hammer only 1. Now I pull it back, pull it off, hammer pull combination. And I end on the 7th of the A string. I play this alone while the rest is still ringing. So I have. Then I go over to the, I add my pinky on the 8th fret of the E string again, and I start all over again. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2. Most of you probably know the E shape already because it's one of the first bar chords you'll learn when you start out playing the guitar. It's this shape derived from the open E chord. Okay, move it up onto the C, 8th fret. Here we are, 8, 10, 10, 9, 8, 8. Okay, we have really nice embellishments here on the upper 2 strings. They're within excellent reach. On the 10th fret of the E and the 10th fret of the B string. There is another one, not so nicely within reach, on the 7th of the G string. We'll look at that later. Let's look at the first 2 tones here. You can play it the way I just played it as a bar chord, lifting your pinky off and adding it to the 10th fret of the E string, or the B string. Just play around a bit. Watch out when you lift your pinky, it becomes a different chord. It now is a dominant chord. It doesn't matter as long as you don't hit the D string again, because that's where you lifted your pinky off from. Okay? So I just noodle around in high strings now. And when I go back, I need to go back actually to make it sound like a C chord. If I hit the low strings now, I have a dominant chord. Okay, the other ways, that's the way I play it. I just lift my fingers off. And there's another way, the way Hendrix played it, but man, this guy had long fingers. I don't have long fingers, so I can't really do that. He played it with his thumb and fretted the rest of the notes with the rest of the fingers, with the other fingers. And took his pinky and noodled around here. I hardly can reach the high E string. See, it's muted already. So you can do that. It's very comfortable if you have long fingers. If you don't, either play it as a bar or lift it off. Okay, here's our example. So here's how I played it. We're in the key of C, 8th fret, 10th fret A string, 10A, 9B, 8, 8 from the bar chord. I hit the low strings, so it's like the E and A strings, and then the high strings. Okay, that's the usual Hendrix ballad style. I lift it off, so it stops from ringing. Then I take my fingers off and place them here because I don't prefer that. I prefer to lift them off. And now I play my embellishment tones. I play the 8th of the E and G string and make the Hendrix swoop on the 10th fret of the B string. So I play the B string only, and I hammer the B string only, but I play 2 notes here. Okay. So this 1, 2. Then I'll leave it as it is. Everything keeps ringing. Now I add my middle finger to the 9th fret of the G string. We're still in this chord shape. And I play the G and B string. Okay, with my pick and middle finger, or just use the pick, but take care not to play 3, but only 2 strings. Then I add my ring finger to the 10th of the D string, and I hit that D string and the G string. And the purpose is that everything is supposed to ring into each other. Then I lift it off. Well, my middle finger can stay, okay? And I replace the fingers and put them here back to the where we started from. play the bass again, the high notes again. And now we have something interesting, because this is the usual thing everybody does, okay? On the 10th fret, the 10th fret, those are embellishments here, these embellishments. But there's also a cool embellishment notes here on the 7th fret of the G string. And I'm gonna play this now with 7th G and a chord tone here on the 8th fret of the B. But now I don't hammer anymore because I wanna do something different. So I put my ring finger on the 9th of the G string, play all the two together. So it's always the G and the B string. Lift it off again. Then I have the 10th of the D string on the with my pinky. And I play this alone, okay? So these are two strings, two strings, two strings, just this one, but everything keeps on ringing. And then back to here and back to the ring. Okay, so this is the phrase. Okay, the whole phrase slowly. 3, 4. One more time. The D shape might look awkward at first, but it has a cool power chord in it. So it's good for rock styles also, and for U2 styles, if you use the upper chord only. All right, let's see what we can do with this voicing. Here's how I played it. I start with the power chord, so I don't fret the upper string, and I'm muted actually. Okay, I start with the bass note, the D string. We are on the 10th fret of the D string, the 12th of the G, and the 13th of the B string, okay? We move this from this D chord. On the 10th fret we have the C, okay? 10, 12, 13. I start on the 10th of the D, and now I play all the three then. So first only the bass and then all three. And I stop it. I lift my fingers off and I bar these two. Okay, there's a embellishment tone in there. I play a chord tone here by hammering on from the 10th B and E string to the 12th of the E string. I play two notes, but I hammer only on one. And then I pull it. So I have a hammer, and a pull, really quickly. I try to keep it ringing. It's not so easy because the pinky now could mute the E string. Try to keep it ringing. And I played a 13th of the B string, which is a chord tone, replacing the embellishment note. We said we don't want to rest here, so I replace it with a chord tone. Then I add the 12th of the G string. Everything keeps on ringing. And then I played a 13 on the B string again. To be honest, my E string is not ringing anymore. But, well, we can have it all. Okay, the whole thing slowly. 3, 4. 1, 2. And then when I go back, I add my index finger here, okay? The C shape is a little hard to fret in the beginning, especially on the 12th fret. We're in the key of C now. Derived from the open C chord, 12 frets up, we're in the key of C still. We have our tensions in excellent reach. We have a tension here on the 14th and another 14th on the D string, G and D string 14th. Those are our favorite. We also have a tension here on the 15th. Yeah, that's it. It's a lot easier if you split the chord, okay? Like in all those embellishment things we do. I split the chord in the low strings, into the low strings, and into the higher strings, the middle strings actually, okay? So I play A and D string and the upper. Just in the beginning when I play the chord, I play the whole chord, okay? But then I break it up. Let's check our example. Here's how I broke up the part and added the tensions. I start with the whole chord. We're on the 15th of A, 14th of D, 12th of G, and the 13th of B. Also the E string, maybe if you bar it through the E string, okay? All right, I start with the low notes as usual. So the A and D string, 15th and 14th fret. And then the high strings. Yeah, I actually play the high E string by barring it down on the 12th fret, okay? Lift it up quickly. Then I fret my 12th. I have my 12th fret on the G string and the 13th of the B string. And I make my Hendrix swoop again on the 14th of the G string. So again, I hit two strings, but only hammer on one string. And it's one note, whoop. Then I lift it off. No pull, nothing like this, comes later. Here we have only a hammer and a regular hit. Then the same thing goes on the 12th fret of the G and D string, D and the G string. We play the 14th as a hammer on the D string. And back to the 12, 12. Okay, so two notes, only one hammer, one note is hammered, and back. Then I go over to my bass note, the C on the 15th fret of the A string. And while I play this, I place all the rest of the fingers to make a C shape again and play the upper three strings. Okay, so practice this. Okay, you don't need to play all the place all the fingers at once. You come from here. Yeah, sorry. And now I play the same thing but with a hammer pull combination. I start again on the 12th of the G and the 13th of the B string. I hammer over to the 14th of the G string and pull it off again very quickly. Then I add my ring finger, I put it on the 14th of the D string. Play that string alone while the rest's still ringing. Then on the 12th of the D and G string, I hammer over to the 14th of the D string and pull it off. And I need to stretch now a bit to the 15th of the A string. I play this alone while the rest still ringing. Okay. Very slowly now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, sorry. then I hope my video helped you playing all those cool embellishments. If you want to see more like this, please subscribe to my channel. And if you like the video, please like the video, which means give it a thumbs up. And I hope to see you next time. Auf Wiedersehen.